On today's episode, we are talking about active listening and how active listening can improve our relationships as a whole and our understanding of the world and the people around us through actually paying attention, right? And not being distracted and being mindful of what somebody else is saying and kind of putting ourselves on the back, not on the back burner, I guess, but just knowing what our deliverable is in a conversation so that we can fully follow the conversation and give somebody the respect they deserve.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, for me anyway, the struggle for me is when somebody's talking to me, trying to be an active listener, but also trying to not forget what they just said because I feel like I have something to say. But like you said, don't put yourself on, not necessarily putting yourself on the back burner, but just taking a step back and going, you know what, this is their thing right now. This is for them. They're having a conversation with me, and I'm going to be the one that's listening to them rather than thinking about what things I want to say to them about what they just said. So being able to active listen and let them talk without having to constantly think about what it is that you want to say back to them.
Here's the thing though, too, when you really look at it, I know like it's almost like an anxiety when you're like, oh my God, I have something really good to say or a story to go off it or whatever. And you don't want to lose it. But if you let that thought kind of go away like a cloud and you fully listen and engage, at the end, that thought more than likely is going to come back to you or something else will be there. Another way that we stop active listening is when somebody's coming to us with a problem and we get on the defense right away. Right. And so when I've had that conversation with people, I'm like, yeah, we want to avoid being on the defense right away. And they go, oh, I don't do that. Well, you just did it. Let me finish. Right. So, and that's okay to say too, let me finish, is to not get on the defense side of something because you're all of a sudden trying to protect yourself or, reasons why something happened. No, hear everything out fully before you start to, what is it we say? You want to respond and not react. So, how can you respond appropriately when you don't have all the facts and you don't have all the information? With kids is oftentimes, and this is a big showing your child respect thing, is they're trying to tell us something and we think we already know what they're going to finish saying. And so we finish it. But what's the harm in letting them finish it? Because maybe they're not going to say what we think they're going to say. I've done it
That's
all the time.
that is so true. Actually, we do it to each other, but we actually do finish each other's sentences, and it is what we were going to say. No, but what is the harm to let somebody just finish what they're going to say? Sometimes we just yeah, we want to get our 2 cents in there, and that does bring it back to us when somebody is having a conversation with us, as opposed to it being about them. And not that we're out there to go look at me, but a lot of times you're just like you said, you get anxious and you're just like, oh, I have something really good to say, right? I have something really good to say, but your something really good to say might not be that something really good to say to them, and it's disrespecting the person that's having a conversation with you. So
Been there, done that. What
me
about this
too.
one? What about this one? This is a good one. So you're just having like a story time with maybe a group of people, or maybe it's one person. Maybe it's, I've been in the restaurant industry for beers for years. And you sometimes we always had this bartender and we called him the one upper because he would interrupt every single story and had a life experience with everything. And I will 100% say I have done it. It's an effort that I don't do it because I have a lot of life experience and you're excited to share. But at the same time, it's valuable to let somebody else share without topping their story. So that's another form of non-active listening, is when you are the one upper. And it's okay if you identify, you go, oh my God, that's me. That's been me. I think we all do it at one point or another, but
Yeah.
to be aware of that, hey, maybe I do that, or that one-sided conversation where you're not letting the other person. I mean, we all have things that happen, right? And so I want to share everything with you, but it's also important to keep a balanced relationship that I say, hey, Mindy, how are you? How is your family? What's going on with your kids? Rather than just everything and
Yeah.
not asking. Like, it's not, you have to have balanced conversations too.
Yeah, I'll be the first to say too, hey, I've been there, I've done that. And I think all of us, if everybody's being honest, I think everybody has done that at one time or another, because you just shared like it's a story, right? We're storytelling. And so we always feel like, oh, you have a good story. I want a good story to share too. But you really aren't being present in the person's conversation, and they're not getting the respect. What was that? Respect? You can't chase that.
RESPECT.
Yeah. They're not getting the respect that they deserve. And so how would you, let's take it back. If we actually think about what it's like to be in their shoes, if we're interrupting, like if they're interrupting us when we're sharing something really exciting that we want to share because they're one upping us, or they just want to share, they literally just took it away from us, just like ripping it from underneath us. And we don't have that time. So one thing to remember when you are listening to somebody in a conversation is just that, like, hey, how would I feel if I interrupted them, or if they interrupted me right now when I was sharing? So I think we all do it, but it's just being more mindful about not doing it as often, right?
Yeah,
Or, I
and
mean,
just
try not to do it at all, but not trying. If you're one of those that do it all the time, then hey, you need to take a step back and think about it.
just be aware, acknowledgement, and keeping it at the forefront of your brain right there is change. Like, just start to make the change. The other thing about it is that when if I'm not actively listening to you and I'm interrupting you and I'm pulling the value away from what you're saying, in turn, and not intentional, you're going to be a little bit about miffed about it. And then you're going to do the same thing to me. So really my interruption isn't getting heard anyways. It just it's a spiral effect. So you
Yeah.
take a lot of value out of an interaction by not active listening.
And you improve the relationship with other people when you're active listening. And that's one of the things that I love about our program is the relationships piece of it, learning that others' personalities and all of that comes into play. But you're learning so much about the other person that you're having a conversation with. When they're sharing something, you're learning their body language, their emotions are coming out, right? You can really see more when you pay attention 100% versus when you're off track and you're thinking about things that you want to talk about. You really get to know that person on a deeper level and build that relationship with them.
There's strength to that. One more thing before we go today, I want to talk about is the understanding the deliverable or the expectation of a conversation when you are engaging with somebody. And I think there's two different aspects to that. We were just talking about it last week, and I was explaining about the kids is in a frustrated state. They don't want to hear my mouth. They don't want to hear. They're frustrated. They're in their own headspace. Is the to so I know, do you need help or do you need time? And keep it basic sometimes. Understand kind of what you're going into before you have a conversation, based how many words you're going to use, what you're going to say. And then with a friend or a business person, a business associate, or a spouse, significant other, is a great thing when somebody's going to vent is, hey, need comfort or do you want solutions? Right. And I think you had mentioned, what does it do? It gets your husband off the
I
hook.
Well, I love that too. Like when somebody else is having that conversation, we ask that, like, hey, going into this, what are you looking for? But as opposed to making them have to ask that question, if we're the ones, if I'm talking to you, Tara, I can be very clear right away. Like, hey, Tara, I just need a vent. I had a really crappy day today and I just need a vent. You don't have to worry about trying to fix it. I just want to tell you what happened. And then you already know immediately, like you just said, you're off the hook. Like now you're just going to listen to me and let me vent and then pay attention to what my feelings are like, right? And so you're learning about me a little bit more and building that relationship with me. And I can trust you. I can trust you more because I know you're listening to me. One of the things I try and remember a lot when I'm having a conversation with somebody or when they're talking, because I am one of the people that kind of like try and think about what it is that they need, right? It's not something that you're going to wake up overnight and be cured. Like we're always going to have to be focused on this. But if you're listening, you're not thinking. And if you're thinking, you're not listening, right? So let that sink in for a minute. When you're thinking, you're not listening to somebody. But when you're listening, you're not thinking. So that's the way I kind of keep myself on track when I know I'm kind of going off the train track right there. I think about that.
Absolutely. No, and it's so true. You can multitask so many things, but that's one of the things your brain just doesn't work and comprehend like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, and just even you saying, putting it out there at the beginning of conversation is this is my expectation to you. It gives you a safer container. It gives me more of a comfort. I know how I can best support you. And at the end, if there is something that you might need, is to ask, hey, is there something I can do to best support you? Or just simply say, I'm really sorry you're going through that.
Yeah.
Or that resonates with me. I totally understand how you feel. Like that alone, wow, that's a powerful relationship builder. And when you do that in all areas of your life, and I think sometimes because a lot of times ingrained with not being vulnerable and not asking for what we want. And when we have asked when we're, children, and we get kind of shut down. So it is in an uncomfort zone. But when you remind yourself that it's okay and you start to do it, it's going to feel more normal, more natural, and just shows a more beautiful side of life, and teaching our teens and ourselves to do that. I mean, that's powerful. That's awesome. I
I
love
love that you just said that because that's a super valuable tool to have anywhere in any conversations are, not just your personal conversations, but at work. Like think about the people that are just always kind of sitting back a little bit because they're not comfortable yet. Maybe they don't have all the trust in the people around them. So if we can start uh, sharing those tools, like instead of me not speaking out and asking that question because I feel stupid, I'm going to be stupid. And I'm not going to be stupid, but I'm going to be that person that's like, you know what? I don't really care if I'm going to ask this question because somebody else behind me might have that same question. And I'm going to be vulnerable enough to say, you know what? Hey, I know this sounds like a crazy question, but what about, right? And so then the person that's speaking can then go, you know what? I guess I didn't answer all those questions.
active listening and all that it
Yeah.
involves and how we
Oh, there's
communicate.
there's one thing that we need to talk about too. We talked about it earlier today. Like when somebody is on their cell phone and oh yeah, you're talking and I'm just doing one of these. How does that
Bruh,
make you feel?
bruh, I'm talking to you. What can't wait on your phone?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's huge
absolutely.
today.
And you
We
know
need to
what?
fix
And
that.
I, as a real estate agent, it's work stuff.
We
But
always have an excuse.
the excuse is unnecessary because there's really nothing that can't wait. Like 5 minutes is going to be okay. And then if you do at the end, hey, I got to go check something. Excuse me. Use your manners. Spread
Yeah,
kindness. And by doing this with our people, all the other humans around us, it gives them the comfort and the confidence to do the same thing. And just be genuine, be yourself. And when you fuck it up, turn around and go, hey, I wasn't active listening. Can you please restart? I'm so sorry. I'm really working on this. And usually they're going to go, I do that too. And it's okay. So, all right.
right.
So questions, comments, we've been getting a lot of great feedback. Reach out to us through www.adultingtoday.com, right?
Yeah.
Let us know what
Yep.
topics you want.
Yeah, there's a contact page. Contact us and let us know what topic you want. We'd love to hear your feedback. Yeah, and we're always looking for topics. So we'd love to hear it from our audience as opposed to us making them up all the time. But we can do that too.
We put them in a hat, pull them out. There's so much stuff, so
Right.
many great pieces to life that we can just elevate and live a better life. So, Adulting Today Academy, that is what we are all about. Knowledge is power, and we're going to keep rocking this game. So, thank you for joining us.
Right.
Have you
What
done that with your kids?
yeah, I wasn't listening to you. So
You were
I have
thinking,
literally something I wanted to say. This is
and I cut you
ridiculous.
off.
Did
Yeah,
you
you're
cut me
welcome.
off?
You kind of
Did you
did.
cut me off? Oh my
You did.
God.
No.
These bloopers are gonna be great. No, what were you just talking about? Because I probably have many times done that with
Well, so the thing with kids is